Hello and welcome back to Archversity. Before I begin today's video, I have an appeal. If you like the videos that I've been putting up on my channel, please like, share and subscribe. This will give me a boost as I build my channel from scratch, and it will also give you notifications whenever I upload a new video. Today's video is going to focus on a disturbing, tragic and sad aspect of human history. World War II in India has its very defined scope of focus, but there are personal stories and tragedies which we never learn about in our schools. I read a book, Daughters of the Dragon by William Andrews. It is a personal story interwoven with a lot of historical narratives about the terrible sufferings borne by women in the East Asian theatre of World War II. Daughters of the Dragon, at its core, it's a story of a young woman's search for identity. The protagonist of the story is Anna Carlson, an adopted young woman with roots in Korea who grows up with a foster family in America, and with the passing of her mother, she feels a sense of loss. It becomes a rare chance for her to travel to Korea to learn more about her birth mother. And then, in Korea, with an unexpected turn of events, she runs into her grandmother. She meets Hong Jae-hee, the power force who drives the story of this novel forward. And Jae-hee also gives Anna a very unique comb which is shaped like a two-headed dragon. And with a touch of mystical realism, it is this dragon comb which makes Anna the center point of the story. Suddenly she is being chased by the Korean Secret Service, by thugs, and everyone, it seems, desperately wants to have that comb, an ancient priceless Korean artifact. As the story progresses, it becomes less and less about Anna's quest for her identity, and it becomes more about being a witness, a scribe of sorts, to record the brutal chapters from her family's history that she had no idea about. Now, before I go further into the story, please consider this as a trigger warning. The book deals with very dark subject. It's not easy to take in. So if you feel squeamish or if you are not comfortable with themes around abuse, slavery, shame, and other such related topics, feel free to skip the rest of this video. The story moves forward where Anna and her grandmother eventually have a long conversation. The story moves forward where Jae-hee opens up and informs her granddaughter about the horrors that she has endured and survived to give Anna the life that she hates. Jae-hee's story begins around the Japanese occupation of Korea in the latter stages of World War II. Jae-hee grows up in a rural part of an agricultural family. Her father is forcibly taken away, ostensibly to work on an industrial farm, and they never hear from them again. She has an elder sister who she is very attached to, but Jae-hee is the smarter one in the family, who's already at a very young age fluent in both Korean and Japanese. On a fateful day, a Japanese soldier comes to their home with a fatal summon. The summons make it very clear that Jae-hee and her sister are to be taken away to work in a factory. and young Jae is not able to understand why her mother breaks down in tears. But then the mother gathers her courage and gives a little bundle or a package to Jaehee's sister. Jaehee and her sister are then taken away from their house in a truck with other young women, and soon they realize the horror that awaits them, where instead of a factory, they are taken to a Japanese army camp. The book doesn't shy away from describing in detail the terrible horrors and abuse that Jae, her sister, and other comfort women in Korea were subjected to during World War II. And they saw their close ones suffer, many of them even dying due to avoidable circumstances, and somehow, with grit and determination, try to make it through to the end. But Jae's story doesn't end there. The book then moves forward and describes how, with the end of World War II, the surviving comfort women are released back into society. Jaehee goes back home and she sees that it's completely destroyed. Her home is not there anymore, her mother is not there, and her elder sister, who she was separated from and she thinks has died because of the brutal conditions in the camp. Jaehee is all alone and she tries to rebuild her life by joining the Communist Party in North Korea. The story then moves forward and showcases how eventually even the most optimistic person in North Korea becomes disillusioned with the reality of the communist government. And then for Jaehee, there's one personal tragedy after another where she gives birth to a child, but then she is forced to try to make a run to South Korea to escape the tyranny of North Korea. The book then showcases how Jaehee has to survive by serving as a bartender at a US Army base camp, and what price she has to pay to ensure that she and her child are able to survive. And then this portion of the book, frankly, is as disturbing and sad as the portion which talks about the conditions in the camp, because it shows how Korean society, and again I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not an expert on Korean society and history, so I do not know how accurate the book is, but it does showcase how these women who ought to have been applauded for their courage to survive are somehow made to feel a sense of shame over decades, and it suffocates them, it stifles them, it makes them reluctant to come forward and share the tales of their misery and what they survived. Jaehee pays a price for it with her personal life through ups and downs and challenges, including a distancing from her daughter. But through it all, she carries forward with perseverance and a determination, and eventually she comes to a point where she feels like she doesn't want to feel ashamed anymore of the scars she bears, and she wants to talk about it openly. And the book shows how it starts as a trickle, but Jaehee soon finds people like her, people who have survived, who reluctantly but slowly and steadily start coming forward with their stories. But it's not all on a very high note though. There is one chilling moment where during her stay in South Korea, Jaehee finds employment in a company and they have to host a Japanese delegation for a business deal. And one of the high-ranking business people who come in as part of that entourage is her tormentor, the chief captor from Japan. And it shows how despite the passage of time, they immediately revert back to their former selves, where Jaehee feels absolutely terror-stricken, powerless, weak, and the commander feels like, or the former commander feels like he's back in control, but he does not want Jae-hee to reveal the truth about him. So they strike a deal where Jae-hee doesn't have much of a choice other than to agree to keep her mouth shut during the visit. And she feels angry and violated at the end of that, because she feels like she has still given in and she is still following orders. The story then moves forward eventually through the passage of time and brings us back into the present, where Anna now has finally absorbed or grasped what her lineage represents. And again, going back with that mystical realism of the book, it throws in a bit of a fantasy where it shows a link between Anna and Jae-hee going back all the way to the 16th century to a fabled dynasty of Korea and a fabled empress from that time. And that comb is a legacy which carries forward. So my takeaway from the book is that, although in history we focus so much on the macro events, the geopolitics, the battles between the armies, the economy, the impact borne by people, etc., it's the personal stories which actually convey the full cost of what this kind of conflict does. And it's unfortunately more often than not women who bear the worst of it. And sadly, with each passing year, more and more of those voices will find their final peace and rest with their stories never having been told. So that was my takeaway from Daughters of the Dragon. If you would like to have a glimpse of an unspoken aspect of human history that is not fully acknowledged or explored, certainly in India, feel free to give it a read. But please bear in mind that it is a very heavy book. It will last with you for a long time. It will leave you feeling heavy. But try to also look at it as a story of courage, look at it as a story of resilience, try to look at it as a story of human triumph over human evil and human cruelty. Please let me know if you have read the book, what you thought of it, and if you haven't read the book, let me know if you're planning to pick it up. Thank you for watching this video, and until my next video, I hope you stay happy and healthy.